I think representation does matter a lot, but I think, as companies and as people, we can't rely so much on representation all the time. I mean, we can't just tokenize the black community just to, get sales and get black people into the sport. White people gotta do their job too. They gotta go out there and they gotta just be like, hey, I know there's not a lot of pictures of you doing this, but I think you'd like this. See what I'm saying? And that's gonna help. That's gonna help. I'm Aman Anderson, and I'm the owner of Beast Fingers Climbing. I got into climbing from a buddy of mine who introduced me to it when I was living in the Northwest. I was new to the area and just looking for people to hang out with. And he was like, yeah, man, you wanna come hiking? So we went hiking, and then there just happened to be a boulder on the hike, and he just went up it. And I was like, what? I didn't even know it was sport. I didn't even know it was climbing. And then he took me to a gym, and it was like this hole in the wall YMCA. And yeah, they had like quick draws in the ceiling. And I was like, wow, this is cool. I didn't realize there was a gym for this. But I had never been to a commercial climbing gym at that time. And still hadn't been to one, but I had got a membership to that YMCA and just would go every now and then and just hop on the climbs out there. So I was living in DC, working out there, and I was doing product design and web user experience work out there, and I've been doing that for most of my career, just like dealing with online products, and really fell in love with, user experience, working with, helping people make their lives easier, I guess. And I realized that I don't want to be a designer anymore. I want to work with people. I remember a buddy of mine I was talking to, I was like, man, it would be so cool to like create a gym that had like research and all this stuff and science to help people get stronger, health in a healthy way, reduce risk of injury, and put it in the hood. Because I fell in love with climbing, and I was like, it'd be so cool to put a gym here, climbing gym, where kids could learn how to rock climb, get that exposure, get to learn about the sport, and compete. And at the time, I was like, it would be cool if it was called Beast Fingers. And it was just like all jokes back then. We kind of drew it up on a napkin, and we were like drawing out the numbers. This was years ago, years. And then that was it. I didn't have no money. My family didn't have money like that, so no one could have funded it, that I knew who I could call on and be like, hey, help me open up this gym, you know what I mean? And so I didn't foresee any way that it could happen. But I just kind of not fell back, but kind of went back to my roots of product design, and I designed a product for the climbing industry, and that product, I think, opened the door for me, and that was the GRIPPÖL. GRIPPÖL was my first product that I brought to the climbing industry, or the market, and then the GRIPPÖL XL was the hangboard, and yeah, and that kind of opened the door for me to get into climbing. The owners transitioned. This space was just up for demolition, and so it was a perfect opportunity to kind of move in before demolition took place and take over the space and the lease and rebuild it the way we wanted it. We have just kind of just focused on just making this our home and, and running programs out of here. I was scared because there was nothing in here except the wall. There was no floor. This was just all empty. And I knew that I wanted a space that was simple, that fit my training and coaching style. I mean, we look at the space, it kind of has like this, it's like a circle. It starts here, like the little training and strength, and then we move to climbing. And from climbing, we move into more climbing specific training and then recovery, And then the way I envision training is that circle is what keeps an athlete healthy. You need all three components to be strong. You need training, strength training, you need climbing, and you need recovery. These athletes, they work hard. They work hard, they're wrecking themselves hard. And we've been able to navigate a lot of injuries because we focus so much on recovery and training. None of our athletes have had elbow tendonitis, and they all climb harder than me. Now they do. In the beginning, it was like getting them there, and then now they've surpassed me. We have access to a very diverse economic status of Denver. You got Rhino down the street, which is more affluent, and then you got Globeville, which is, less affluent, lower income, working class people who are just trying to survive. So being in the mix allows us to meet people just where they're at and just try and help as much as we can to make that bridge a little easier, whether you have money or you don't, so that you can afford to do this. Because it's expensive, especially if you want to compete. Now, it's cheap to just buy a pair of shoes and rock climb, but if you have a kid that's got talent and wants to take it to the next level, now they have to have a USA Climbing membership, which is $100, and they got to register for competitions, which are $30, give or take each. And then they got regional championships, which is almost $200, and then you got divisional championships, which is always, the price just keeps going up, and on a working class family that does not have that kind of money, that's hard, so there's been multiple times where we've had to help families take their kids as far as they can. And then sometimes our parents who have the means will help too. So it creates this community and family where, we understand where everyone is at, and then others who don't have that experience will try to understand and help in ways that they can. I think that's what has made this program successful and different. When I see some of these kids, sometimes I see myself. I see, having to make a decision to choose good or bad. Having to, listen to people who are telling me, hey, don't do this, do it this way, And it reminds me of myself, some of the things that I had to navigate as a black kid growing up in an all-black neighborhood, wanting to make sure that I make it out. As much as we want to say, oh, climbing is accessible, it's accessible if you know how to make it accessible. I know plenty of poor climbers who just spent their money on a crash pad and just go down to the local crag and just hit it, no money at all. They pick up some used climbing shoes from REI for $20 and they get an old crash pad or a mattress or whatever, and they're climbing for free. Any of us can be a grassroots athlete and just get into it and do it on a budget, you know what I mean? But it's like, I gotta get you there first. I gotta bring you there. But if your parent is working the night shift, 3 jobs, and your dad is out working the morning shift, and you are getting out of school, going straight to aftercare for like 10 plus years of your life, then where is the time gonna be? Who's gonna expose you? Who's gonna have the time to have a conversation with you? Hey, have you thought about taking your daughter to rock climbing, or your son? But you work a night shift, 3 jobs, and your child is here and there with a daycare or babysitter, and you just trying to pay the bills, light skin turned. I mean, you don't have time to be having a conversation with someone about rock climbing, or going on a hike, or figuring out where a trail is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, climbers like to make that excuse all the time, like, climbing is cheap, anyone can do it. I'm like, yeah, it's cheap, anyone can do it, but it's not as easy as it sounds. I look at, the idea of representation, it's like, it's like it helps, but we have to, as a community, work together to make it happen, and I think that if people are just loving and caring, that can help a long ways. Just people who are willing to be patient enough to take some kid and introduce them to the sport. Patient enough to change the narrative of what a rock climber looks like, We can't rely on advertising and media to catch up. We got to do it right now, Of course, it'll be nice at some point to have movies on Netflix with black climbers doing amazing things and climbing big walls, but right now we don't. These big companies that have the money to make it happen, they could do it. They have the money to make it happen, And then once they do it, they got to go into the communities, Yeah, we could drop a movie on Netflix, but I've never seen you before. I don't know where you look like or where you're at. Or you might not even have Netflix. So, we got to go into the schools, we got to go into the communities, we got to be where they're at, And it all, I mean, I love the sport. I think it's a great sport. I think it can help people and change people's lives. Is it a priority, to a lot of companies to really try and get people of color into the sport? I don't know. But I feel like the strides are being made in the black communities to do that. Like we got the Black Girls Boulder, what you got going on, Brown Girls Climb, organizations like this that are actually trying to get into the communities on these grassroots levels and make things happen. That is huge. We can make it happen. I think so. I think within the next 3 years, it's gonna blow up. Not just in every community. I don't, it's hard to say, but.
Hey, you said it on camera, so.
It's on camera. We're saying it. 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Put the pressure on.
Yep. I'll start now.
Yeah.